Hi there, everyone, and welcome to the deck chat portion of this stream. My name is David Baron von Fabulous Lark from Bob Commentaries. This is my co-commentator,
Callum, the good Doctor Young.
and we're here today to talk to you about the two teams in the final of the Keyforge Online Team event, which are the Hamburg Atlanteans from Hamburg, Germany, and Can't Touch This from Poland. Do you want to tell us
Yeah,
who's playing
and
today, Callum?
so we're going to start by talking about Can't Touch This. And in the top cut on their way here, they have taken down a number of the big American teams. So we saw them beat Team Reapout, we saw them beat Team SAS, we saw them beat Kip, and they arrive here in the final. And the first deck we're going to look at is Tytko's deck, the captain's deck, which is entitled I won't say the Polish because I'll butcher it, but Google translated it to Gerard, a scoundrel from crowded Malbork.
We'll refer to it from Gerard from now on, and I'd say
Uh,
that this deck is fast.
oh boy,
Speed for
my notes
days.
just say Zoom.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is like a specific type of Worlds Collide rush deck where what you do is you use a lot of powerful creature effects to generate huge amounts of efficiency and synergy. So you go through your deck very quickly, you play a lot of cards and do quite a lot of things per turn, and as a result, generate huge amounts of Ember very quickly.
Mm.
You don't have many Ember controls cards in this house combination, but that doesn't matter if you win 3-2.
Yeah, you're often
And
aiming to just kind of get through your deck, and you're winning conditions so quickly that
yeah,
you don't care what the other person's doing almost.
and this deck went fully undefeated through the in rounds,
Oh wow, that is impressive.
which is pretty damn impressive given the overall high quality of what we have seen.
Mhm. Let's look at the cards in a bit more detail then. So in the logos, we have a lot of just kind of potential for draw here. So you've got things like the Telltale Vapors, you've got the Titan Guardian, which you can usually get between a couple of things and definitely make someone fight to draw from it.
Yeah,
Wormhole Technician for a bit of archiving, and a Candle
yeah,
unit if your opponent really wants to reap into you and give you cards through that.
yeah. You've got an Edai to archive cards. You've got an Igor to look at cards, and
Hmm.
all of this contributing a lot to the 16 efficiency that we see.
Yeah.
You can also throw in a Helmsman Spears in the Star Alliance for potentially big draw on a Star Alliance turn
Yeah.
if you can get it to survive.
Which I think will be
So already,
difficult considering all the damage pits we'll talk about in specialist when we get to that. But
but
it does
not
do damage. Gerard, no slouch either.
no, you have kind of like just enough disruption to really slow down your opponent, right? So not so much damage, but also just removing things from the board. So you
Mhm.
have Quintrina Flux, which if you hit a lot of creatures of the same power, you can really wipe a board.
Yeah, we do
You
see a
have
lot of creatures of the same power in specialists. We a lot of 4 power creatures, a lot of 3 power creatures in there as
yeah,
well.
you have three Nature's Calls, which is going to be absolutely ridiculous in terms of just returning creatures to your hand over and over and over again, as well as replaying your Ghost Hawks.
Yep. Or returning your opponent's creatures to their hand,
Yep.
say in the case of a Lieutenant Governor with a lot of Ember on it. Also, just a
Yeah,
quick note
just
for a rare here is Entropic Swirl. Choose a creature for each trait that creature has, deal 2 damage to it and gain 1. So if you were say to hit this Igor, there's 1 trait of Cyborg, so you'd hit it for 2 and gain 1. But if you hit this Edai, it's an AI and a
yep.
scientist, so you hit it for 4 and gain 2.
Both Ember generation and removal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the the Ember generation in this deck is going to come pretty quickly because triple Nature's Call, double Ghost Hawk, you're going to be reaping so much potentially
Exactly. And
if you
also
can get
just
those creatures to stick on the board.
Yeah, also just interestingly as well, with the Captain Val Jericho, during your turn, if Captain Val Jericho is in the center of your battle line, you may play 1 card that is not the active house. With ways of kind of like moving creatures back and forth to your hand with Nature's Call, you're often going to be able to get that Val Jericho kind of like on every turn pretty much. And it gives you really effective ways to kind of like bring back those Ghost Hawks, move things around your battle
Yeah.
line and maximize that benefit.
Alternatively, either with Val Jericho as one rare or Witch of the Wilds in the Untamed.
So yeah,
Uh,
during each turn in which Untamed is not your active house, you may play 1 Untamed card. So again, those Nature's Calls, those Ghost Hawks can both be really useful
yeah.
played out of house.
Both of those will let you play Nature's Call out of house, letting you get access to play effects at house. So after even like a minute of looking at this, I got really excited because this is very much my kind of thing.
Mm.
And the idea of using Witch of the Wilds to play a Nature's Call out of house and replaying an Edai and an Igor
Yeah,
is
that's
going to be
very nice. Yeah,
absolutely brutal
yeah, that could be really powerful.
in terms of
One
sheer
final,
efficiency.
yeah, one final rare to look at is Inca the Spider, which is poisoned. So any damage dealt by this creature's power during a fight destroys the damaged creature, and its play reap stun a creature only one power. You know, not the best creature nowadays. I think there are creatures with much bigger effects, but still, just to be able to play stun a creature can be very useful, especially
Yeah.
if your opponent has some like creature with nasty reap or fight effects,
Uh,
which Specialist does have some of, which we'll now talk
you
about.
Yeah, and you do have obviously the key charge to really close it out.
Indeed,
And I
you
did want
do.
to do one final thing because you have an interesting interaction. You have double walls, which usually just brings back upgrades, but can also bring back robots. So if the candle unit is giving your opponent a lot of trouble,
Oh
you
yes,
can
you can
just
definitely bring
get
back
that
that
back.
robot. Yeah, and with the Val Jericho, potentially play that robot on the same turn on observed count.
uh, or the resembling automaton.
Indeed.
I love this sort of deck. It's my favorite type of deck. I considered buying this one before deciding I didn't quite want to pay the probably quite fair price that's being asked for it.
But I think we should really
So
move on to Specialist Sandstorm now.
probably I'm a little bit overexcited.
Yeah, so
This is
let's
the
talk about this. So this is a deck that we've commented on quite a few times now, so we're getting quite familiar with it. And what we'd say about this deck is that it really is, a bit of an all-rounder. Only thing missing, I'd say, is the kind of creature control and a bit of artifact control, but everything else it really excels in just kind of being able to like do a bit of do a bit of ember controlling, do a bit of ember generation, drawing, and then just keeping a
Yeah.
board that stops your opponent from doing anything.
Yeah, and this is probably why Lorenzo also piloted it through the in rounds undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
So big clash here. And
Indeed.
Hamburg Atlanteans on their way to the final knocks out No Kongefats in Austria 2, Hamburg Atlanteans 3 in a brutal civil war,
Indeed.
and Lick All, a multinational team out of several Asian countries.
Indeed.
And yeah, I think we start with the double Skippy Time Hog here.
Yeah. So skip your time hog play. Your opponent cannot use any cards during their next turn. So that is both artifacts and creatures.
And that's going to wreck a lot of the plans that Gerard is trying to put together.
Yeah, it really is. So a lot of this kind of is based on like say being able to reap. Although this is a rules thing that I'm not entirely sure on, but I think you may, by playing the Ghost Talk, may supersede Skippy Time Hog, because I think may does override can't.
I believe it does not.
Oh,
I
really?
think
Okay.
I'm pretty sure you won't be able to, because reaping is still using,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't do that either.
Okay. I know it has funny interactions with Enrage where you can reap with an enraged creature, but I'm not sure if
It
it.
does, but I'm pretty sure this won't work like that.
Yeah.
As a victim of this before,
I see.
opposition research will do the same thing,
Yep.
and you have the Stirring Grave to just bring back the Skippy Time Hogs again.
Indeed. You also have some nice things in Dis to disrupt your opponent as well. So Mark
Yeah.
of Dis, great ones, just kind of force them into houses. Although lesser problem in Gerard where you have out of house abilities like the Witch of the Wilds, like the Captain Val Jericho.
That will negate it a bit, but obviously it's kind of like a fine-tuned machine trying to race to the end. If you can throw a wrench in there, you can often really disrupt things, and that absolutely will
Indeed.
do that.
You also got a break key, which can kind of like send Gerard back. So if they are getting off to that fast start, you can rein them back in by using a break key on them too.
Yeah, and we see a few of the other things that got the Hamburg Atlanteans this far in this deck to its undefeated run. Vault Keeper and Discombobulator just to turn off any stealing.
Yeah. Yeah, Ember cannot be stolen by Vault Keeper. And Purify of Souls stops any destroyed effect. Less of an issue in Gerard. I don't think there are any destroyed effects as far as I can see, but still worth
nothing
noting.
jumped out at me. And yeah, you'll be able to capture a bunch with the 7 capture icons.
Yeah, or steal it if you have the Scrivener Fabian out as well.
Yeah, because a good number of those capture enhancements are in Sanctum, I believe.
Yeah, I'm just have stuff like a Maleficorn, which you see like very little board control from specialists, but when you have Maleficorn, which after an enemy creature is dealt damage by a bonus icon, deal an additional damage to it, and 9 damage pips in the deck means that you can do a lot of work with those damage pips as too.
Yes, be able to take out a lot of the sort of not especially large creatures you get in Gerard, only 80 power.
We talked about the speed of Gerard, but I think Specialist is also worth noting is no slouch either.
No, not at all.
You've got Daughter, you've got Cronus to archive a lot, you've got a bot Bookton to do some draw from that. Sloppy lab work as well, just cause a loop. Really good ways of just kind of pulling yourself through your deck, getting yourself to exactly the things you need.
I think the difference being that this uses its speed to cycle through answers and responses whilst trying to build up this big sanctum board.
Indeed, whereas
Whereas in
Gerard tries to
Gerard,
cycle through and pose questions to its opposition.
yeah, it's just if you cannot stop me from doing this thing, I will win in a low number of turns.
Exactly.
But
And
we have seen. Sorry, go.
I think that's what this matchup is going to come down to, is that can Specialist slow down Gerard sufficiently? I think if this matchup goes kind of past turn 9, turn 10, Specialist is probably going to be winning this. If Gerard can go fast enough and Specialist doesn't draw the answers in that time, though, we're going to see Gerard getting the win in this captain's game.
I think so. Yeah, if Gerard can get a board that starts going out of hand, if Sandstorm's creature control doesn't prove enough, I could see it winning. But if you were to push me to a prediction, I would probably say that Sandstorm is going to grind it down and eventually close out the game.
Okay.
Probably with a mark of this.
Well, we'll hand back over to the KOTE team to get onto the game. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Yeah, welcome to the game portion of the episode. We have Tytko on the top of the screen, and we have Lorenzo on the bottom of the screen playing Specialist Sandstone Griefvold. And what's Tytko playing again, Callum?
He's playing a deck that we're just going to call Gerard because it's his Polish. I won't butcher that any further.
Fair enough. And we see Captain Valerico out first. Very nice card to see straight off the bat.
Very strong turn 1. And also gives them the chance to play another card, which they're now perhaps considering.
Does, yep, giving a nice little thunk. And what will we see coming out of the hand here?
And a solid ouch from Lorenzo, which I think that's the reaction you think would have if you see a turn 1 Valerico.
Is that how ouch is spelled in German? Or is it just
I assume so.
God, it's one of those things. I never thought that ouch would be spelled differently in different languages, but I suppose it makes a lot of sense that it is.
Yeah, because it's obviously phonetic, right?
Yeah.
Sort of lots of little words like that spelled differently in different languages.
Yeah, that's I think word of the day is ouch, but German.
Yep, ouch in German. That is our word of the day.
That is, yeah. Straight off the bat, not fucking around here. Word of the day.
Sorry, that was me.
Within the first minute and a half of the recording. We able to see a Touter Vapors, another great card to get on the opening, get put in the archive, draw a little bit more.
Which, given that he thought about it, I think he's holding a pretty good hand of other cards.
You've got to think so, but we are going to see, Purifier of Souls, but that's it. Ooh.
Played an Equalize as well, but again, not exactly a dramatic opening turn from Sandstorm.
No, not really.
All right, what's Tytko got? What dramatic things are we going to see?
No, I mean, that Valerico is still in the middle, so we are going to be able to see a card played out of house. And I believe with Valerico, if you choose say Logos, you can play a Star Alliance card this turn because of Valerico's effect. Yeah.
Yeah, slight contrast to the Witch of the Wilds is also in the deck.
But also other kind of Star Alliance cards that have similar effects. So for example, a Kirby, it has to be a non-Star Alliance card. In this case, it can be just a card that's not of the house you're playing, making it even more powerful.
Yeah, it just opens up so many effects. Yeah,
really cementing, I think, why a lot of people's view is like Valerico is possibly the most powerful leader, I'd say.
Yeah, I can see Saurus Rex. I think Valerico is more consistently good. Saurus Rex, you can do the most ridiculous things with, I think.
Yeah, I think Saurus Rex and Lord Invidious are probably the other two that generally come into the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of Zenzi, but it's because I love cards and playing many of them. So
you do. That is something you're very much of a fan of. And Tytko, taking a second to think about this, and I suppose with the options provided by having a Valerico on the board, there is a lot to consider here as well. A lot of different angles to look at.
Yeah, and you've got to think about keeping it in the center and whether you discard cards to do that.
I think that's a real feature of a lot of these kind of like Star Alliance, Logos, Untamed decks is you end up playing a lot of cards. So you really just kind of like map out your turn quite a lot and kind of like work out the variables, because there's a high chance you're going to be drawing some cards here that kind of like you're going like, okay, well, if I am going to draw some cards, what am I likely to draw into? How would that change what I'm doing? Really does mean that you've got to like kind of just consider a lot more. And we're in the finals of KOTE 7 here as well. If there's going to be a time to just take a minute, make sure you're making the right play, it's now.
Okay, he's going to go Logos.
Indeed he is. Let's see what we get. We get an Entropic Swirl.
Strong start to the turn.
And yet we see 4 damage coming out from Entropic Swirl. We also can see a Nature's Call, just whacking that back into hand. Using that Valerico effect there, because Nature's Call, of course, is an Untamed card. We're seeing a Logos turn into the Igor.
Gotta be a little bit disappointed he didn't have another Logos creature to put down on the other side, so we could have Nature's called that Igor.
And yeah, we do see a Data Forge played out just for the Ember and the Anomaly Exploiter put on the board.
Yeah, I don't know whether you could realistically pull off a Data Forge in this deck. I think it has a lot of efficiency, but doesn't necessarily have the archiving you would need to do that. Maybe I could maybe see it. But
yeah, I think it's kind of one of those things like generally going to be a pip, but there's going to be the occasional kind of like clutch play and a bit of a weird game where you can pull it off.
yeah, as opposed to you get sort of dedicated Data Forge decks where it's a couple of Tauta Vapors, a memory chip, an
Yeah.
Information Officer Grey, and you can do it most games.
No, a good friend of mine, Barry, had a deck that was a lot like that, where it could like very reliably pull off a Data Forge in that. Many a game where I was very angry about losing to the Data Forge. I was like, "You had a Data Forge? Who uses a Data Forge?"
I did, in fact, get trashed by that deck in KOTE at one point as well.
Oh yes, of course. Sorry to bring up
Much to
traumatic
my...
memories for you, friend.
Oh, it was oh boy. There was some Soulkeeper reassembling automaton shenanigans that scarred me deeply. Also in the deck.
Yeah, Lorenzo here having a bit of a think. You got to think that having that card return to hand here and having already taken a not the greatest Sanctum turn, maybe Lorenzo doesn't have the best hand here, and he's going to go to Logos, possibly hoping to kind of pull off some stuff with this. We do see the Skippy Time Hog, so no using that Jericho or that Igor this turn.
Yeah. Also,
and
I just think
Discombobulate is stopping any stealing. I don't think there's much stealing in Tytko's deck, so I don't think I'd be too fussed about the Discombobulator. But
there is a Kin Cannon. That's it.
yeah. So I said no Garcia and Blaster. I think that's the only other option of stealing you could see in information exchange, I suppose. But we're not
Special
seeing
Agent Fingers.
Yep, very true. That too. None of that
I mean,
available.
It's a Starlight's Logos Untamed deck. It's not really in it for the Ember control.
No, and I think probably that's why Lorenzo just playing that just as a bit of a get the upgrade out of hand, put it on something, get a pip. But yeah, so Tytko here. We haven't seen any Untamed so far, but we did see that Nature's Call played out earlier, so I think it's a fair chance we could see another Star Alliance turn. I've only seen the Val Jericho come out from that, so might throw on some Star Alliance by this point.
I mean, that is only one of 3 Nature's Calls in the deck. So.
Oh, well. But also the things on this board here, maybe not stuff you really want to Nature's Call, like the Skippy Time Hog, you're not going to be too thrilled about putting Mech in the hand. Adaptoid you're probably going to be fine with, but...
Yeah, I mean, you can always just put the Adaptoid back and...
Yeah, just clog up the hand a bit, which you kind of done with the Purifier of Souls. I think that was probably the intention by returning it to Lorenzo's hand earlier.
Certainly some shenanigans of just being able to play Nature's Call, pick up an Igor, replay it with the Val Jericho.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think I would estimate that we're probably going to see a little bit of a slower rate of play than we usually see from both these players, just because it is the final.
Yeah.
Huge bragging rights on the line.
There very much is. But I think it's always the sportsmanly thing to just kind of say, let your opponent know, I'm thinking, I've not disconnected, I've not, no technical issues, I'm just kind of, musing over my next option. I think it's always nice to see that when you realize you're taking a bit of time.
Yes. An Untamed turn.
Normally we would speculate wildly at this point, but we don't have spec hands here, so we just have to wait.
We now have the Witch of the Wilds, and we are going to see a Nature's Call.
Ooh.
I've got to pick up the Igor.
He does pick up the Igor indeed.
Can he still play it?
And plays the Ghost Hawk, but can't reap with the Val Jericho because of the Skippy Time Hog.
But now can drop down the Igor again, should they so wish.
Of course, Ghost Hawk does allow you to reap if, say, a creature is enraged, interestingly. But doesn't go past kind of, say, effects like Skippy Time Hog or like a Barrister Joya. Because enraged is only you have to fight if able, whereas this is saying you cannot do it. There's an important distinction there. But yeah, we're going to see the Igor as well here.
Let's get a look at a few more cards.
I think this is the power of like this logo Star Alliance Untamed combination. I think you're quite familiar with, Callum, where you can just play these turns where you're just using all 3 houses and just doing shenanigans.
It is my absolute favorite. As with like Worlds Collide, Star Alliance, Logos Untamed, as this deck is my absolute favorite. And we're seeing after only 3 turns, Tytko's already gone through 22 out of his 36 cards.
Yeah, but not that he's not got a lot to show for it. I think that's too harsh. But with only managed to get 4 Ember out of the equation, 5 if you include the one on the Skippy Time Hog. And I think Lorenzo not in the best position, but it's whether Tytko can take advantage of this kind of like very fast start.
Yeah, Sandstorm as a deck favors the longer game for sure and wants to sort of grind you down.
Mm,
Has made a bit of a slower start. I think it's probably okay with this.
indeed.
Although you've got to be a little bit concerned at what you're looking at on the other side, given we
Yeah.
now have Val Jericho and Witch of the Wilds.
Yeah,
So
that's you got to be thinking Lorenzo's hoping to take out at least one of those two at this point. But if I remember rightly, Sandstorm not got the best in terms of creature control, just like out of hand. It
no,
tends to
they're
be much more creature focused in terms of getting a board. So this might be a concern that Lorenzo has here in that you don't want to be behind on board if you're playing Sandstorm.
yeah, because the creature control is only 5.8.
Mm,
And even then, it's stuff like Dino Knight, accounts Adaptoid and Opposition Research. So it's surprisingly low for a top level deck. It certainly is.
indeed. And
Used to kind of
Lorenzo musing.
fighting down.
You're going to see a Sanctum turn, so we're going to see that Purifier of Souls coming back, which we do. Here he is.
Yeah.
Not many destroyed effects, though, in Tytko's deck to be
No.
turning off.
Some damage on the Ember Heart's going to knock off Ink of the Spider.
Yeah, I think it's a very good one to get rid of. And maybe put a damage on Witch of the Wilds, but I don't know if the...
Probably.
Because just knocking off the armor on Val Jericho, I can't think there's much use for that at the moment. He's giving it a little bit of a think here. I suppose the other option is if he's got another damage pip in hand, which I think he might. Yeah, he is going to put that on the Ghost Hawk to kill that instead and get that shoulder arm down. But not a great turn. Only getting the Ember Heart, the shoulder armor, and the Pure Souls. It seems like Lorenzo not getting the best draws here.
No.
Not playing particularly big turns.
And Tytko now is going to have quite the turn. So he can play an Untamed card out of house and then can play another out of house card with Val Jericho.
Yeah, I think this might be where we see that Star Alliance turn. I've got to think we've only seen the Val Jericho come out so far. You've got to think Tytko's got some Star Alliance in hand here and is ready to make a big turn. Anyway, so unfortunately, well, we've got to be very grateful to the organisers of KOTE for giving us the footage of the live finals. Unfortunately, we're watching a pre-recording of this, so we can't go and check the discard. Normally, I would just to see how much Star Alliance is in the discard because there's been 2 Igors played, so we might have seen a lot of Star Alliance go into the discard, but I don't remember seeing much. I think I remember seeing a Kinkin in there when it was checked earlier, but I don't remember seeing much else. So Tytko though having another consider. But I would be surprised if we didn't see a Star Alliance turn.
I mean, this is the sort of thing where you need to think a lot, right? Because you have to do combinations, you have to get the ordering right.
Yeah.
Because you mess that up.
And also you got to think like what's left in my deck as well is a lot of the consideration with these kind of things where you're probably going to be playing a Logos card at some point to kind of like do a draw. You're going to be, even like Star Alliance can draw 2. There's generally a high chance that you're going to draw more cards. You're going to think, okay, am I likely to draw more of this house or more of this house? And if I draw more of this house, how will that affect this?
Yeah, it's sort of. I got very excited during the deck chat, and this is just sort of an example of this sort of a fine-tuned machine. You can do many things.
We do see Star
Oh,
Alliance
let's see Star
as the
Alliance.
house. And yep, we can see a hologramophone as the Logos card played to Val Jericho.
Okay.
Light of the Archons to make that Val Jericho even harder to kill. And I'm going to fight the Purifier of Souls.
I wonder why.
There's just a bit of damage on it. I think Val Jericho's got Skirmish. I think is that from Instrument of Silence? Does that give Skirmish?
Yes, it does.
So I suppose just to put some damage on the Purifier of Souls and just thinks, well, I'm gone 7 Ember anyway. I'm going to check. Oh, gains an Ember from fighting with the Instrument of Silence, I believe. So, move to Xeno Trading as well. Going to capture all of Lorenzo's Ember.
And just casually dropping a Helmsman Spears that Lorenzo also pretty much has to deal with now.
Yeah, this is... it's a phrase I use a lot, but this is quite the pickle that Lorenzo is finding himself in here because you've got to wonder, how is he going to get rid of this Val Jericho at this point?
I don't see it. And this is the thing that you talked about in the deck chat, that the board can just run away with it, and you could very easily do this. He's got off to a slow start in terms of uh, getting creatures on the board. You can try and slow it down a bit with stuff like opposition research and the Skippy Time Hogs, but in terms of removal, it's got some problems.
It's also an interesting one to note here that, like, say, even if you use an opposition research to stop reaping, with a card like Helmsman Spears, you can still, like, say, fight the Skippy Time Hog to use its effect.
Uh,
I is going to use the Essence Skill to destroy the Skippy Time Hog, probably cognizant of that and thinking, I don't want to be able to use that Helmsman Spears.
mm,
I'm just going to do that, get rid of it.
and another
Oh, no,
very
archiving the Skippy Time Hog actually with a Stirring Grave, that's
yeah,
probably the reason.
yeah. But another very short turn for Lorenzo,
Yeah, it just
and
don't
does
think
not stop the spears.
I don't think he's played more than 3 cards in a turn this whole game yet, as far as I can recall.
No.
And when you see Tytko just running through his deck like a sprinter, and there we see the first Key Forge for Tytko there. Only 9 cards left in his deck to Lorenzo's 21 cards left.
Oh boy. Well, because he's
Yeah.
played 2 Nature's Calls, right, as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he's just been
So he's just
putting the
kept
cards
putting
back in
stuff
Lorenzo's
back.
hand. Yeah, like that Adaptoid that was put back into Lorenzo's hand. We haven't seen that come back on the board yet. That's still been
Yep.
stuck in his hand this whole time.
And this turn could be huge.
It could be, yeah. I think Star Alliance seems like the obvious one. That Helmsman Spears is
Probably,
tuned
yeah.
up and ready to go. You can use the Val Jericho to kill the Snorret.
Helmsman Spears is one of the things where if it lives, you pretty much do want to go Star Alliance, unless you've got almost no Star Alliance in hand. But even then,
I mean, especially with your
there's
ability, you can play both an Untamed card and another card of any house, thanks to Witch of the Wilds and Val Jericho. So you can play 2 cards, play whatever Star Alliance you have, and then reap your Helmsman Spears to get another hand of cards.
yeah, those two creatures coming out early and sticking is huge in this matchup.
It really is, yeah. No, yeah, like I think you said earlier, I think those like early inches calls really were crucial in this matchup. Just to allow Tytko to get this board presence and
I'm going to say Logos turn, interestingly.
yep, using the anomaly exploiter to destroy Purifier of Souls. Maybe just has a lot of logos in hand. You see a
Yeah,
Positron
maybe.
Bolt. Maybe see the Igor warded and used to fight the Snorret, possibly, or maybe he has more damage in hand he can use. I think it's gonna be one of
Yeah,
those 2 things.
not necessarily be bothered by the Snorret that much. I don't think
Eh,
unless
it's
he's going to go
more
Death again immediately.
Yeah, it's more, I suppose you just want it's the way I look at it is you're gonna get 1 ember off that. So you can either get 1 ember from the Igor by reaping, or you can get rid of everything on the board, keep Lorenzo's board under control, and just do it for relatively
Yeah,
little.
does also cost you the ward on something else, like the Witch of the Wilds, like the Val Jericho.
It does, but I think as we
But you
discussed,
are
just,
correct.
just straight fights into it doesn't even use the ward. I think that as we discussed though, with so little ember control, creature control in Lorenzo's deck, you're not as concerned about the wards being on the best things as you would be in other decks, I'd say.
Yeah. So we saw
You can see
2
a
untamed cards in
Morphin,
this Logos turn.
and we're gonna see
Because we
that
saw,
ward go on the Witch of the Wilds.
yeah, because we saw the Wild Spirit go on the Val Jericho, and the Morphin come down from the Witch of the Wilds.
Yeah, and I just can't see how he's ever gonna be able to get rid of that Val Jericho now. It's 8 power, 4 armor.
Yeah, I just think that's sticking for the rest of the game now,
Yeah,
which is probably very bad.
problematic indeed. And yeah, we do see the Eclectic Inquiry going to archive some things, but this is just
Yep.
this.
And we know that Skippy Time Hog is going to come back down now.
Yeah, we can see a daughter get a bit of draw, get some ember capture, get a damage pit, possibly knock the ward off Witch of the Wild, or on the Helmsman Spears to kill it. I would assume with a second damage icon from somewhere. Of course, it's going to be applying some lasting effects to Adaptoid, which can't use them because it is currently exhausted. And we now see the Skippy Time Hog. Oh no, Sloppy Lab Work rather. I do apologise. So Lorenzo here starting to be able to draw through his deck, hopefully starting to be able to draw into some answers, but we've got to wonder if it's going to be too little too late here.
Yeah, and also the problem is not much early logos.
No, and I think that's really key to this deck is being able to get that, those logos cards down, start getting that draw through, start getting, the either get that critical mass of Sanctum to get that big Sanctum board, or kind of get your dis down just to kind of like start really disrupting your opponent and making it hard for them to do what Tytko's done and get their engine set up. Is the Infomorph come down and the Skippy Time Hog. So Skippy Time Hog really good here. Going to stop the Helms and Spears being used. Going to be used to stop the Captain Valerico fighting here. Just give Lorenzo a bit of time to breathe, hopefully.
Yep. Maybe be able to fight some of these creatures down with some of the logos turns, if he takes another logos turn. But it's not looking good.
It really is not.
I mean, at this point, I think if you're Tytko, you just play a mostly out of hand turn, build that board up even bigger and more dangerous, and just be like, yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I think that definitely seems sensible. That's kind of where my mind would be going right about now. But Tytko, I mean, a lot to think about. You've got creatures of every house on the board here. You've got stuff like the Titan Guardian, where you're like, I could maybe try and destroy the Titan Guardian, get some draw off it. You can ward things. You can anomaly exploiter things. Just lots and lots of options, and that's without even thinking about the cards that he's got in hand here. So I'm just trying to think what Lorenzo's game plan here is. I think he can't be too happy, but he's possibly got some time to stabilize here. He's got this logo spore down, starting to get that Skippy Time Hog out. He's got another Skippy Time Hog somewhere as well.
Yep, he's got Hand of 7, 3 in the archive, so could start trying to drop some creatures.
Yeah.
I think he could discard the Baldric the Bold from the Sloppy Lab Works. Yes, I think that indicates he's not thinking Sanctum right now.
Yeah, maybe going for Dis, maybe thinking as well if he does go for a Dis turn, can, use the Essence Scale to do some stuff with the Adaptoid as well.
Maybe, because you do have a lot of enhanced cards in Dis.
You do. I mean, the only thing I can think with Adaptoid actually is if you can get enough, if you've got enough pips, could you get that Adaptoid with enough, say, Assault on it to be able to take out that Jericho?
I mean, you need 4.
4.
So, no, that's not right, is it? Oh, it is, yes, it's Assault 2.
Yep, so it'd be, and it's got...
That'd do it. 4 enhanced cards, use the Essence Scale, use Adaptoids, and that's... Could do it. There's plenty of enhanced cards in Dis.
Yeah, and there's some damage icons. There's a Mark of Dis, I think, is there as well.
Yeah, 2 marks of Dis.
So with that point, if you've got a Mark of Dis, you put the 2 on the Valerico. Maybe at that point you can possibly start to pull yourself back in. At that point, it's still going to be difficult.
Oh boy! I mean that. Yep, there it is.
That's gonna be a problem.
Yeah, and that is the exact opposite of what Lorenzo wants to see. Just casually being wiped away.
This is a problem we've actually seen with Lorenzo's deck a couple of times when we were commentating on this in earlier rounds. Is a lot of Lorenzo's creatures have the same power, which makes them really vulnerable to cards like your Quintarino Fluxes, like your Dance of Dooms, that target cards of a certain power. Like your standardized testings, we've seen be a problem before, where you've got a lot of 4 power, 5 power cards that all can get destroyed by those kind of effects.
Just gonna pop a force field on that Valerico.
I know it's on the Witch of the Wilds. He's put it on.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No problem. But that's got to be a body blow to Lorenzo, though. Here, he's got to think. Maybe that was his chance to kind of like start to get back into this, start to rebuild a bit, and just everything wiped away apart from that Skippy Time Hog. It's just that's got to be gutting.
I genuinely struggle to see what's coming back here.
Yeah, I mean, a quick look at the discard there. Not seeing too much Star Alliance in there still, so I think maybe you're going to see some more Star Alliance turns coming out from Tytko.
Well, the force field just came back with the walls. It's got double walls, double light of the Archon's force field. So
yep, to the window, to the walls.
Nope. Just gonna say no to that.
But yeah, I think we still might see Dis from Lorenzo here, and I think maybe you'll try and put him into Untamed, possibly. Not the best options in Untamed. you know,
Yeah, I mean,
hardest to take advantage. You can't take advantage of that, which is the wilds. If you go into that,
you've less immediately on the board.
yeah, I think that maybe is what will happen. But I think still, and also probably the most tools to get Tytko off check in Dis as well. I would think.
Yeah, because you've got a lot of capture icons knocking about.
But you've got to look at this. This is turn 6 we're on as well. That how like we, there's been a lot of there's a lot of deep thought in this game, and very understandably this is like a very complex deck Tytko's playing. But the speed at which he's managed to amass this board and this situation and this dominating
Yeah,
position is
I mean,
very
there's
impressive. Well, you can see the
uh,
mark of this onto Molfin. Yeah, so we are going to see Untamed.
yeah, he's got one card left in his deck
Yeah,
after 6 turns.
yeah, it's been brutal. And obviously that turn 1 Val Jericho was always going to be very powerful. And yet the Cinder uses that damage icon to take out the Molfin and capture,
And a capture icon
knocking
too.
Tytko off check, which you've got to be very happy with. We see the Techno Fiend. Now, may use the Essence Scale here to get a steal, which would get him onto check. But I'm not
And
sure.
would explain why he
Oh, plays
picked
the
Molfin as
break
well.
key as well.
A nice break key.
That's very good.
That'll
Oh,
buy him
do
some
we
time.
have a Waking Nightmare in Lorenzo's
Uh,
deck?
we do not, unfortunately. I don't think there's
Ah.
anything that will
Oh, we see the
really.
fight on the Witch of the Wild, so he's got rid of all the Untamed here. I mean,
Yep.
I'm
Strong mark of display.
I'm not saying I think Lorenzo's still in a really sticky situation and it's not great, but that turn was big.
Yeah, absolutely. He sort of captured 3, stole 1, hits the break key to buy himself an extra turn,
Hmm.
and we'll see what happens now
Yeah,
with Tytko. Has to pick Untamed because of
has
mark of
to.
dis.
Obviously, he's
I mean,
still
could
got that
still be
Jericho in the
pretty
middle,
brutal.
so he's going to be able to play one card that's not untamed. But
We haven't seen any Ghost Hawks yet,
I think we saw
which could be good.
one early on, but he couldn't use it because of the Skippy Time Hog.
Yes, yeah, you're correct. But with still a Ghost Hawk.
Yeah, but
Yeah, a lot of Untamed has come and gone, I think, as well.
yeah, and I think Lorenzo also thinking here that possibly he can get his first key here as well because
Yeah.
there's you can't it's hard to archive in Untamed. There's not really Ember control in Untamed. So he's just thinking, right, I'll try and get my first key out, and then from there we'll see what happens next.
Creatures will hopefully then stick on the board.
Mm-hmm.
There is a third Nature Scroll.
Yeah, we might see a big Sanctum turn come out at some point. We haven't seen much Sanctum yet. We did see the Baldric discarded earlier. With that Ember Heart, that might be a kind of good position to start. Getting some of that Ember protected. And see choices from Tytko.
I don't know whether he's mocking or not. Whether mocking or complaining, unclear.
I think a bit of, I think no, I think it's just a generally informative kind of way of saying just having a bit of a think here, better than just repeatedly saying thinking, going for a choices.
He's going to reforge the red key.
He is indeed. And yeah, but yeah, I mean, understandably a lot of choices though. Again, can play that one card out of house, which maybe has some logos that could be useful. Tata Vapor's already gone, which I think would be very good because it would get him to make that key cost more for Lorenzo.
Drop a candle unit, maybe. Stop any reaping that might be going on.
I think be unlikely to see much reaping though. With you've got Cinder doesn't really want to reap because it would have to destroy a thing and give an Ember. Historicog probably wouldn't want to use an action more. Skippy Time Hog
True.
maybe would want to reap with that. I think Lorenzo's got to be concerned here that he's like, I forced you into Untamed, and you're thinking a lot more than I hoped you would. And
Yeah,
usually when
well,
you play a
you
Mark
want...
of Dis and destroys every creature of that house on the board, you generally want someone to just kind of play a card and pass turn.
Yeah.
You don't want him to be sitting there
You want-
thinking.
What's the power of Valerico?
Hmm.
Also, it was worth noting that it's the leader that makes itself easiest to have its condition continue. Because
Yeah.
obviously, if you can play creatures out of house, it makes it much easier to keep it in the center long term.
Exactly, yeah.
And this one now reaps, captures an Ember, fights.
It's
gains
also
an
when you
Ember.
get out early as well, because you can then just
Yeah.
build your board around it. It's not like sometimes you'll get it where you've already got 5 creatures on the board. You're like, okay, right, you need to kill 3 of these creatures, or you need to play a whole bunch of creatures to get this anywhere near the middle. Whereas in this case, I think pretty much every turn Tytko has played, he's had that Val Jericho in the middle at some point.
Yeah, and has done a lot of egregious things with that.
Indeed, he has. It's times like these where I really wish I could see Tytko's hand because
Yeah, I want to know what's going on. I know
yeah,
what's
because
going
I
through
wish I
his
could
head.
theorize what I would be doing. Or probably theorizing what you'd be doing, Callum, because I just feel like there's too many things. I don't know what to do.
Candle unit.
Yeah.
So that's the out of house
And
card.
there we see the
Evil
Ghost
Ghost
Hawk. And we're going to see the Walls Reap and then probably the Titan Guardian.
gets to take something back from the discard pile.
Does. So
So,
Force Field he gets to bring back.
yep.
It plays to
And it's,
Nature's Call.
yep, 'cause it's an untamed turn. Oh, that's
Wait,
so
how?
brutal.
Oh, because it's on the same turn. Right. Yeah,
Yep,
right.
yep.
I was really
These are
confused. I was
the
like, it's a Starlight turn. I was like, no, wait, it's not. He just.
these are the things you have to keep straight with a deck like this. What
Yeah.
house am I actually
I was
playing?
just like, I
Um,
saw the walls reap, and I was like, oh, so we're Star Alliance, right? That's how that works. Oh, this
and
is painful.
that is a brutal turn for Lorenzo, given
Especially
you
when he
hit the mark
chose
of
the house
this.
for him as well. God, I think that's
Yeah, I mean, this is the point where I give up hope. I think you really need that to be very big, especially because he nature's called some of the creatures again.
mm-hmm. Yeah, that third nature. I mean, you've got to think. Okay, the third nature's call is very likely to be coming because he's drawn his whole deck.
Yeah, you know it's there.
Yeah. And we see a
You
causal
know.
loop with duplicate Skippy Time Hog here. So again, trying to just buy a little bit more time, stopping Tytko from being able to use any of his creatures.
The problem is that the way that Sandstorm normally has to work is you use these turns to stall as you build up a big board full of sort of
Mm.
knights. We haven't really seen much Sanctum stuff,
Yeah, I mean,
or just build up other responses. It hasn't found the board responses he needs.
and we got he is going to reap at the time hog to give Tytko a card with the candle. I guess just thinking he's drawing so quickly anyway. Like, what's one extra card?
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this could be it because we have not seen the key charge from Gerard yet,
No, but
and he
it's
has
going to be
gone.
difficult to do here because he can't reap. Like, Skippy Time Hog came
Oh,
down, so he
true, true,
can't use his
true.
cards.
I'll hold off on that, but
But
it's
yeah, no,
coming.
I do agree that I think next turn maybe when we see the nail in the coffin, so to speak.
And that's always what you're trying to build up to with this sort of deck to try and close out with the key charge. You build up like this big, efficient machine throughout the course of the game, and then you just finish out before they can do anything. In this case, you've rushed ahead of them by just essentially just by nature's calling lots of things. The degree to which that slowed Lorenzo down has been huge.
Yeah, and I think like that Nature's Call is always going to be a struggle in decks like Lorenzo's because you've got a lot of cards that come in and don't do anything on the turn they come in. They tend to be cards that will come in and will reap, or will come in and they'll sit there and they'll stop someone else doing something, but they're not like directly acting on the
Yeah.
board when they come in. And this being able to return those and just say you need to take a turn to play these again is often
Yeah.
really problematic for decks like Lorenzo's.
I mean, it's illustrative, right? That there's 15 cards left in Titko's deck, having already shuffled through it once.
Mm. Yeah, it just
And
means those actions that are useful, like those Nature's Calls, like those Contrino Fluxes, are back in rotation
yeah,
now, ready to come back to Titko's hand, and just keep making Lorenzo very sad.
just adds a force field and a light of the Archons to the candle unit.
Casually, why not?
7 power, 3 armor candle unit.
Yeah, and I think this is Lorenzo's just got to be like, well, we're a bit stuck here. Gonna choose logos and reaps to play the General Salvador. Uses the opposition research to stop reaping next turn. Just
But
giving
it's
it.
just gave Titko like 3 or 4 cards there.
And you got to think with that key charge, if he's got, I mean, you got to think he's definitely got enough Ember hits just to get the key
I
charge off
assume
here.
it's coming now.
Yeah,
Picks up the archives. He probably can get a key charge that way.
I would think so. Yeah, we see the Entropic Swirl. Gonna hit something for 2 Ember from that, I'm sure. Yeah, on the General Salvador, and I think here we'll see the key charge, I assume.
Key
Which
charge
we
off the
do.
Jericho. Yep.
And yep, Tytko claims that, and I think was just in control of that whole game. Like
Yeah,
Lorenzo had some really nice turns where we thought he was maybe getting it back in it, like that disc turn. We thought maybe we had like another turn, I believe, earlier on where we were like, there's just an appointment, and then just the body blow of that Quintrino flux or like Nature's Call coming down, just it was
yeah. I think
rough.
we've seen the chat both ways acknowledging there was it was a very tough game for Lorenzo just from the very beginning. Sort of drops his Val Jericho turn 1,
Yeah.
and then just becomes unstoppable.
Also, just didn't seem to be getting great draws early on.
No, and obviously hugely hampered by the Nature's Calls.
Indeed. But yeah, so great first game though from the two of these players. We're looking forward to seeing the second game of this matchup. I've been David Baron von Fabulous Lark.
And I've been Callum, the good Dr. Young.
We've been Scrooge Braun Commentaries. Thank you very much for listening, and goodbye.
Bye-bye.